I'm Michael James. I'll be your host this morning, and we welcome all friends, neighbors, citizens of the world, wherever you may be. We hope you enjoy the next hour of listening or viewing, depending on how you're getting it. Today's guests are David Orr, the former Chicago Cook County clerk, who is now running an outfit called Good Government Illinois and has a lot of good perspective on what's going on in the election world. And then we're going to welcome Judy Hansen, who is the executive director of the Chicago Children's Choir, a choir that's been around for, I think, now 65 years. We're glad that you're joining us. We're going to try to continue bringing you, a show that questions the actions of the rich and the powerful and gives voice to the servants of the people. We are recording this on the 20th, Friday the 20th, from our home base at WLUW, although we are actually doing it at home because we are in a pandemic still and we can't get into the WLUW studios. This will be for the week of May 21st, and let's get going. I want to call your attention to last week when we did have some technical difficulties. Many of you watched it on TV, CAN TV, or you may have listened to it on Spotify or Google Podcasts, or you may have gone to youtube.com/Heartland Media. We had two really interesting guests. They were old friends of mine. One was Carol Travis, who talked to us about the Flint sit-down strikes from 1936, where her dad was the leader, fighting Bob Travis. And then we talked to our friend Michael Piranha McGraw out there in Hawaii about what's going on there and about music. You can get all that at youtube.com/Heartland Media, and it is worth the watch. And one other piece of good news. We are now going to be broadcast 3 times a week on WLUW, which you can get at 88.7, or you can get it at WLUW.org. More on that to come, but we got the news yesterday, and that means that you don't have to get up so early on a Saturday morning if you don't want to go looking for it somewhere else. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what's going on. Many of you know that we are in the throes of a baby formula shortage. One of the key manufacturing plants, and there are only 4 major producers of baby formula up in Michigan, was shut down over putting out on the market contaminated formula, baby formula. So they had to pull it off the market, and they've been shut down, although they made up a big chunk of the market, the producers market, and it's left a severe shortage facing people with new children, newborn children, and our government and Biden, et cetera, are working to deal with it. One of the things that they're trying to do is get it so that the WIC, that's a government program, Women, Infants, and Children, can not just buy one kind, they can buy all kinds. So I'm not sure of the complexity of the arrangement, but we need to get the baby milk to the babies. Okay. In the primaries around the country on Tuesday, one of the big ones was John Fetterman, that big, tall guy from Western Pennsylvania, who is a progressive, but a unique style. He won the Democratic nomination for Senate from this great state of Pennsylvania. In Kentucky, Charles Booker won the nomination to the Senate for the Democratic Party. Same with Summer Lee in the House District number 12 in Pennsylvania. And out in Oregon in the 5th, it was Jamie Eliod Skinner. So congratulations to them. We hope people will dig deep and support you and put in some time making phone calls, whatever it takes. On the labor front, we've been talking on this show regularly about the emerging action in Starbucks, as well as Amazon and other places. And on the Starbucks front, they just had union victory after union victory, but Starbucks is coming back real aggressively. They have first said they were going to give a raise to everybody who was not in the union, And then they've set about firing people who have been involved with the union. So this is something to watch, and there's not a boycott, but maybe if you do go to Starbucks, and I had the opportunity to do that a number of times on a recent spring drive in the South, where we would try to talk to people about the union. And the response was good, except for one manager. I think I shared that last week, but I'm sharing it again. So if you're in a Starbucks and you ask for your name, when you're going to pick up your order, you say, "My name is Union," something like that. All right. One of the most controversial things going on in our town, depends on your perspective and where you're at on it, is the mayor has installed an age curfew in Millennium Park. If you're 18 years old or under, you have to be accompanied by an adult or you can't enter. They've had some trouble down there with exuberant teenagers, and I understand the mayor making a move on that, but I'm not, as someone who was always for the rights of the younger and the teenagers, I'm still there. I think they ought to figure out a better way to deal with this than saying if you're a certain age, you can't come in. Anyhow, we'll hear more about that. Up here in Rogers Park, a little bit of news. Some of you who've been watching the TV know that there were 3 deaths in a large apartment complex called the James Schneider Apartments. He was a Democratic Party activist in the ward, and may he rest in peace. But apparently, the way the law is written, you don't have to turn on the air conditioning into a certain time. Same with in the fall, you don't have to turn on the heat. But the residents have been complaining about this for a long time, and 3 people died. And we're very sorry about that. We do want to do a shout out to our Alderwoman Maria Haddon, who was all over this and talking to the tenants and working with the city to try to get these things resolved. Also in Rogers Park, I noticed as I was cruising around the neighborhood, up at Clark and Morse, in the parking lot, there were all kind of vehicles that they associated with a movie production. And when I asked some people last night, they said, "Oh, there's a new series being filmed." So there's some movie action going on in our ward, and I'm always interested in that. Been a while since I had a part. Not next, but in 2 weeks, on Sunday, June 5th, the Glenwood Farmers Market will return to our neighborhood. As happened up on Jarvis a couple of years ago, now Glenwood Avenue, just south of Lunt, between Morse and Lunt on Glenwood, is closed down, not just for the farmers market, but also for Le Piano, the old No Exit, which is now a jazz club called Le Piano. And we had an opportunity to see Chad out there setting up some really nice seating for all of you people who want to hang around outside. So that's a good thing. I want to also thank the Common Cup Coffee House down at Greenview and Morse. They let me bring 15 students from Northern Alabama University. It was a geography tour, and geography now includes everything, the social, economic, and political forces, not just a map thing. And I talked to them about organizing, about politics, and I want to thank once again the Common Cup for letting me bring them in. There are also some other coffee houses in the ward that people may want to know about. That would be Charmers Cafe, the Soul Cafe, Archie's, and Smack Dab. If I left out some, I'll try to get it together for the next time. Okay, a lot of good places to go, have coffee, snacks, et cetera, et cetera. It's good that people are being out and about, but the COVID is not over. I encourage you, if you're going out, if you're going inside, wear your mask. It's important. It really is important. And if we really want to get through this, people have to repay attention to the issue. Okay, that's enough of the banter. We're going to leave it to Emilio to pick the tune that we're going to go out with. We will be right back with more live from the Heartland, starting off with our first guest, David Orr, the former Cook County clerk, longtime fair election activist, and head of Good Government Illinois. Hey, we're back with more live from the Heartland. I'm Michael James. I'm your host this morning. We're about to bring on our good friend David Orr, the former Cook County clerk, the longtime fair elections activist, and the head of Good Government Illinois. I'm going to read a little quote, David, so people get an idea what good government Illinois is. You said, when I decided to retire from the clerk's office, I started Good Government Illinois because I believe in speaking out against corruption and pushing reforms to make government more efficient, transparent, and better meet the needs of the people it serves. I also wanted to support progressive candidates and office holders who align with these values, which I see as central to good government. So good morning to you, and tell us a little bit more about Good Government Illinois. I know last night you were at a benefit. I'm glad you got up early this morning to join us. So start it off, Dave. Fill us in on Good Government Illinois and what's going on.
Okay, thanks. Good to see you, Mike. You summed it up pretty good. You know, it's a small little operation. You know, we don't have a lot of money, but what we try and do is serious research and a lot of behind the scenes political work. For example, we've tried to blow up the misuse of the kind of the ethics department in Cook County a couple of years ago when the president fired a couple people, and all of a sudden there was no board of ethics, and a lot of things were happening that shouldn't have because they weren't functioning. Some of that stuff has been cleared up since. Or with the state, which has done a very poor job on the ethics, and you wonder about the Commonwealth Edisons of the world. The bottom line is, when you have corruption and or mismanagement, has a cost. Okay, so every time Commonwealth Edison spends nearly millions of dollars on questionable activities, who pays for it? Well, taxpayers. Every time the state legislatures continue to keep Illinois 49th or 50th in the amount of money comes to public schools, we all suffer. And yeah, with Winnetka, since you pay for schools often through property taxes, they can afford it. Many places, south suburbs, other parts of the city can't afford it. So one of the big things another big thing, of course, that we try and do is protecting the democracy, which is extraordinarily in peril.
Fragile.
Yeah, I'm very fragile. And I don't say that lightly, but when you've got legislators that what are trying to do now, this goes way, way beyond. They're actually saying that we, the state legislature, can remove administrative people from certain election departments. So in Georgia, you got to look out for what they'll do in Fulton County, which is obviously the place where most African Americans vote in that state. And all of a sudden they could come in. We don't like the results, so we're going to get rid of those people. Reminds me of the Trump phone call in that same state. I just need this many votes and I'll win. And then, you know, we mentioned, we highlight good practices. You know, there are good things that we want people to know about, like the Black Caucus's criminal justice reforms. I think that's great. I think this experiment that the city's doing in guaranteed income, that's good stuff, okay? Has a lot of benefits. Some of the fight for 15, the role of labor in most cases is very positive. The fight for 15 is real. It means if you get $15, you know, an hour instead of $8, that's enormous impact on your life. So instead of so much waste and corruption and BS from so many elected officials, we just need good old stuff that helps people.
That's good. Good little summation of what you do. You know, we've got some races coming up here. Actually, there's going to be a Democratic primary here in Chicago and Illinois, June 28th, 2022. And then the general election is November 8th, 2022. So I want people to mark those dates down so they know that that's where they've got to be on that date, unless they've done, you know, mail-in ballots. And thank you, David Orr, for being one of the first people in the country to really be a fighter for mail-in ballots and drive-through balloting, all kind of ways that people could vote that made it realistic for them in their lives. We've seen a real attack on that, though, over the last few years, scaling back in states like Texas that make it harder and harder, more difficult to vote. So that's an ongoing problem. But we've got elections coming up, and we've got some serious and interesting races. I know we're going to focus a little bit on the property tax and border review, but let me just throw a couple of things out around congressional races. You know, I think the one that you and I talked about recently was the 7th district. Danny Davis is a longtime and progressive, but aging congressman. He's being challenged by some people. What's your take on that race?
Well, again, I don't think we want to get rid of people because they're old. Danny Davis goes back to, I mean, he goes back so far, and he's still functioning. He's somebody that spends a lot of time in his district. People know him. His office is dedicated to kind of helping people. He's a steady vote for progressive issues, no question about it. The problem when some people want to go after him, which is their right, we need young people running for office too, is that sometimes you got these national organizations, and sometimes they're good, sometimes not good. But when they come out there and give money to candidates, like against Danny, and all of a sudden he's a corporate hack, and so I just don't like that. It's partly what's killing our politics, and the Democrats are pretty bad at it. We spend enormous amounts of money because we don't use the money well, frankly. It goes to too much of the insiders and consultants, okay? So, and they're always this attacking mode, and again, Danny Davis is not a Mike Madigan, he's not a hack by any means. And so to use that money and paint a picture for pure political gain, that's not progressive. So, run for office, challenge people, but keep it within the bounds of decency. That would be my suggestion there. And Danny's a great guy.
What's your general take on the new Illinois map? We lost a congressional district, I believe, and we have some redistricting going on that really puts Democrats up, some progressive Democrats up against each other. What's your thought on that?
Well, one, remember, two things. Before, earlier you were introduced as a Democratic primary. It's also Republican.
Yes.
But on the statewide mapping, the good news, if you notice it this morning in the paper, is finally the census we all knew was rigged and corrupt under our friend Trump. That now, remember, these years have been bashed. Illinois is terrible. The Republicans, Illinois is losing people. Nobody wants to live here, all that kind of stuff. Well, it turns out that was wrong. And the latest count says we went up 250,000. Okay. So there is still some question about should we have lost a Democratic seat, whether or not that'll make any difference. Again, I don't have a lot of comment on individual races right now. I just think, like what I said earlier, I think Democrats, when you get caught in between, we have a lot of good progressive Democrats, but the other hand, people are always still trying to get that money. And unfortunately, they have to, because the right wing and others, including some of our friends, have blocked real campaign finance reform. So what's happened is Democrats, in some cases, try and play both sides. And so if you lose that message to working people, because you don't keep reminding them, wait a second, you're the party that supports minimum wage. You're the party that has brought more wage increases to anybody, not the others, okay? You're the party that supports paid sick leave. When you do these kinds of things, you really help people. And so my main thing is I think Democrats got to keep up that message and not be afraid of the dollars. But we need to be smarter how we use those dollars. Just one example, Virginia. We didn't need to lose Virginia. Virginia had done so much, and Virginia Democrats, for people. I know maybe 300,000 people that got medical benefits they didn't get before, all sorts of things. But that wasn't part of the campaign. That campaign spent too much time trying to suggest that the Republican candidate was too close to Trump. He is a right winger, and he shouldn't have been elected. But we lose that stuff. And so to me, the party of progressive Democrat is keeping up those issues that affect real people every day, not some of the crap that we're dealing with.
Well, let's follow up just a little bit more on that before we turn to some local races. What would you, as someone who's been around and involved in elections for as long as I've known you, and that's a long time, about what we should be doing in 2022 midterms to turn out the vote? I mean, we know that there are 13 million plus new 18-year-olds coming on. We know that we have the Supreme Court, Roe versus Wade decision in the wings. There's a lot of things that maybe can help us, but your sense of how we turn out more people. Fire them up.
Okay, well, two things off the top of my head. One is the problem, again, remember in Illinois has got this split personality. You've got progressive Democrats, but by and large, the hack Democrats are in charge. I mean, Madigan's gone, but he's very much influencing things. And so what I mean by that is often the insiders are more interested in building their own bases than necessarily winning the election. What I mean by that, for years and years, I watched how the party money would go to certain committeemen. They didn't register people. They didn't want to register people that might vote against them in the next, local election. So give it to the groups that do something. League of Women Voters. There's a lot of good ICRR, groups that really register people. Give the money to where the people are. Part of the problem when I say about the Democrats in Illinois is too many of them are afraid of the progressives. So they're afraid, yes, they can help us win in November, but then they might throw us out in February. That's one. And the other is certainly what I said before, that message. You have to show to people, prove to people. Again, it's amazing how many people believe the Republicans are helping them in their daily lives. It's just nuts because everything that we believe in, and there are some good Republicans, but almost everything we believe in, they've been opposing. And so that has to be in the message. And if you can't say that message because you're getting too much corporate money, then you're hurting the cause.
Well, let's go to some local races. And you and I were talking, and two of the important races that a lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to are the race for the Cook County Assessor, and also the race, what's the other one for?
The Board of Review is related.
Board of Review. So tell us about what those two things do and what's going on, because we know that Fritz Cahey is a progressive fellow, and he won last time, and he has brought a lot of reforms, but he's obviously being challenged by bigger money interests. And then the Board of Review is something else that I'm not even really familiar with, but I'm learning.
Well, most voters aren't, and that's why it's there. Remember, I'm always looking for those structural things that the hacks over the years of the old machine are put into place to be cash cows for themselves, okay? Not really helping the voters much. And that's why I think these two races, particularly the assessor's race, is so important, is that I think I said earlier that we have a serious problem with property taxes. One, because the state doesn't do its job. Illinois is always 49th or 50th, meaning all the other states pay more from the state to help for pay with public education. When you don't, you leave the local groups at the mercy of what they can raise from property taxes. Winnetka, Wilmette, they can raise property taxes. There's plenty of wealth there. But in a lot of places in south suburbs, other places, or in parts of the city, it's really hard to do. So that's part of the problem. And I'm sick of some of the state legislators who are some of them behind Cahey's opposition, do nothing, they sit on their asses, but then they're looking for a villain to blame for the problems. Beyond that is, this is so important because, we have Robin Hood in reverse here in Cook County. And it's not because the Madigan-led groups just wanted to rob people. It's just that was a good way for the party to make a lot of money. What do I mean by that? Okay. What's clear what happened under Berrios. Remember, Berrios was a hack, was at the Board of Review, and then Madigan made him county chair and county assessor. Very powerful position. It's been proven unquestionably, okay, that what he did basically is to give tax breaks, he would underassess. Okay, that was his job, to underassess some of the big fat cats downtown, big commercial property, not just downtown, Orrington Hotel, a lot of places like that. So the result would be they would pay less taxes, and then the homeowners have to pick that up. In some cases, average homeowners may be paying $1,000 more every year for taxes because of what the assessor did before under Berrios, or now what the Board of Review is doing. So it's fairly simple. It's Robin Hood in reverse. Cahey's changed that. He gets won all sorts of awards from national groups because he's assessing property more accurately. Now people scream, I got friends that scream because a lot of property values went up, particularly in the housing market, surprisingly. But always look to the opposition, okay? Who's behind his opponent, okay? Number one, certain of trade unions, ones that Madigan has a great deal of influence over them, very powerful. One of them gave her $1 million just the other day. Okay. Who knows whether or not the members voted on that. I doubt it. And the big, powerful real estate interests downtown that like the breaks. They like the fact that they can get away without paying their fair share. And so this is a colossal battle. Okay. And basically they want a reformer out. I mean, I may be simplifying it. There's always problems. So you go to an office like Barrios that didn't have that many skilled people. It was a very political office. They didn't even do most of the work they were supposed to. Okay, so that is important because Fritz Keagy's victory was a step in the right direction. And it really scared the hell out of some of these powerful pals. This should never happen. And no offense to Mike Madigan, to Ed Burke, to all these other people. No one should be allowed to have, who's got a crucial government position with a fiduciary responsibility to the public. No one should be allowed to then represent all these big firms. So Ed Burke, chairman of finance committee, is representing United Airlines. Okay, so the public really wants everyone to pay their fair share. But Ed Burke is representing somebody that only can make more money if they don't pay their fair share. So you get the drift. So it was great that we made those changes. Very difficult to do because the power of the party. Fritz's opponent, a woman named Carrie Steele, supported Barrios all the way through. Anyway.
Isn't her husband kind of a conservative guy who has made a lot of money off of people?
Well, I don't know. Her husband is a very controversial figure by the name of Mays Jackson. He's been a radio personality. I'm not sure. I think he had to leave VON, but he's I don't know if it's popular, but he's a radio personality. The difficulty is he has a strong reputation of anti-Semite, anti-immigrant. A lot of trouble there. I mean, recently there were several Jewish legislators that called upon him to stop saying some of the outrageous things on the show, or when people call in to say outrageous things, to not correct them. And again, I don't think it's fair to necessarily always blame the spouse for something, but it'd be different. But this has been happening for years. If it just happened once, and Carrie Steele said, "Oh, this is terrible," and I don't believe in what he's saying. But it's been happening for years, and I've never heard a peep about it except now. So yes, very controversial character. In fact, he was saying really a lot of nasty things about Tony Preckwinkle when the party actually voted to endorse Fritz in a very close battle, and Tony Preckwinkle, as president of the Democratic Party too, as chair of the Democratic Party, was part of that. So yeah, very controversial.
David, do you see this Samantha Steele challenge to Keagy as a close race?
Very important. Let me stop you. There's two Steeles. One's a reformer, okay. One's not.
I got it. The two of them mixed up.
Carrie Steele, who is chairman of the Water Reclamation District, that's not known for reform. Otherwise, our friend Deborah Shore would have been its chairman. Now that's Carrie Steele. Okay. Right, Samantha Steele,
I apologize.
That's okay. Samantha Steele is a young woman who is a professional assessor, and she is challenging a gentleman by the name of Mike Carbonacci. So there's nobody knows about the Board of Review. There's 3 districts in all of Cook County, and they're all up this time. It's usually they're all up this time because of the census change, and one of them has no challenges. He's the one that's beating up Fritz the most, because in my view, the Board of Review, who's been under investigation by the FBI, Board of Ethics, Inspector General, they want to keep it that way. Okay, I call them Barrios light. Do the same things that we think Barrios did, and they become more important because Fritz is not following that lead. So there's 3 commissioners. Larry Rogers is not up. Larry Rogers is a very wealthy individual. And then let's say the North Side District, which is 1/3 the whole county, there's a young woman by the name of Samantha Steele, who is an Evanston resident, who has been a professional assessor, like I mentioned, going up against a very powerful Mike Carbonacci. And I have nothing personal against Mike Carbonacci. Madigan worked to make him the 9th Congressional District Committeeman. They kind of kicked out Billy Maravich, that you might remember that name from the past, because he is a stepping stone. Because if you're the 9th Congressional District Committeeman, because then you're one of the people that can keep Madigan in power. This is statewide, the congressional districts, you have a lot of influence over people. There's people I know that are supporting him that don't care for him because they want political careers. But anyway, that's more the party stuff. I'm more concerned about the role of the Board of Review. Okay. And so I think part of her message is simply we need a professional assessor and not political. I could tell you all sorts of horror stories about the Board of Review. But I think those are important because even if you got one, quote, good commissioner on that board of 3, you can't get away with all these things that they've been doing. You know, right here, Michael, in Rogers Park, where we both live, that great big building, it's actually in Evanston on Howard.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah, great big building. Well, Fritz came in and assessed it. The Board of Review came in and then lowered that assessment by millions of dollars. Okay. And so if that happens, who picks up those millions? We do. So I think those are, I don't need to go on very further. You know, I mean, Mike is an attractive guy. He's articulate. His wife was a very powerful figure in the Lincoln Yards development, and a powerful figure. He's the one, by the way, that the party, particularly Madigan, wanted to take over for Dorothy Brown. So remember, Mike Carbonacci ran as circuit court clerk, and he was defeated, partly because a lot came out about the money. Like, remember, Barrios took all this money from the property tax attorneys, and the city kept saying, the county, you can't do it, you can't do it. He said, I don't care, I'll do what I want. The courts finally forced Barrios to do it, and since that time, he's paid a fine. Well, the Board of Review did the other thing, actually saying you don't have any authority over us. And so some of these commissioners, they took a lot of money, and when they were forced to return it, what happened? Thousands of dollars, instead of going back to people, they went to the 9th Congressional District Committeeman Fund, or in Larry Rogers' fund, it flowed all into a fund that he controls. And I don't consider that progressive politics at all.
Well, it's some complicated stuff.
It is.
Basically, what I'm getting out of it, the state should be paying more to the public schools than we do.
Absolutely.
Without that, the assessor is challenged because we have to raise property taxes to meet our needs. And I got to say, David, that in watching Fritz Cahey's commercials, one of the things that makes me very happy when he's showing off these hot dogs and comparing them to taxes is he puts ketchup on the hot dog in part of it. And for all those people who badmouth ketchup on hot dogs, too bad. They should still vote for Fritz Cahey. And, you know, there's a bunch of other stuff that we should talk about. We should talk more about the old machine and whatever they call it. We should talk about the governor's race, you know, all that. So will you come back on soon?
Absolutely. I'm in town, and I'd be glad to.
Well, we'll be running into you.
Michael, there's a lot of good things going on. There's a lot of ripoffs going on, and we need to know about the ripoffs in order for us to kind of overcome those battles. And we have overcome a lot of them.
Well, keep on the case, brother. You're doing good, and we'll see you real soon.
Good to see you.
And after all that talk we had with David Orr about the Cook County Assessor and the Board of Review and elections, et cetera, we're going to turn to our musical segment. And we're really happy to bring on our new friend, Judy Hanson. She's the Senior Director of the Chicago Children's Choir. Good morning to you, Judy.
Good morning, Michael. Thank you for allowing me to be here and your invitation. It's so great.
Well, one of the reasons we've got you on is because I was contacted by somebody and told us about your event that's coming up. So let's really briefly, I'm just going to tell people that the event is going to be called Paint the Town Red. It's a celebration of unity and the power of young people. It's going to be at the Pritzker Pavilion on this next, I believe, Thursday, May 26th at 11 p.m. And we can go into 11 a.m. We'll go into that a little more, but tell us a little bit about the Chicago Children's Choir, how it came to be, what it's been doing, and what it's doing now.
Absolutely. Well, the Chicago Children's Choir was founded at the height of the Civil Rights Movement in 1956, really to bring youth of diverse backgrounds together through music to create global ambassadors. And it is our 65th anniversary year. And Paint the Town Red is going to be a culmination concert event really for this 65th anniversary celebration. And it's really bringing our whole CCC family together, thousands of singers. You know, we've been separated for 3 years. This event has always been one of our signature events. It's one of our favorite, our whole calendar season. And we're just thrilled that we can bring everybody back together again after being, isolated. These singers really have to feel this connection and their sense of community and the sense of community in our amazing city.
So you've got, for 65 years, you've had all these choir kids from around the city coming together. And where did they perform in the years gone by?
They have performed all over their city, all over the United States, but more importantly, even all over the world. We have been to South Africa, 2 different occasions, and South Korea, and we've gone to India, and we've been to Italy and Spain, and just a wealth of experiences for our singers to experience the world, really, through the power of music.
Who are these singers? Are they a mixed group are they Black, white, Latino, Asian? Are they concentrated in certain neighborhoods? Are they members of their high school choirs or their church choirs?
The Chicago Children's Choir is its own organization, and they come from we actually represent every zip code in Chicago, and we are in schools. So we have a partnership with schools in Chicago. We have neighborhood programs that are all over the city, 12 different neighborhood programs from Hyde Park, which is the neighborhood of our founding, all the way up to Albany Park and Rogers Park. Then we have an ensemble for singers whose voices are changing to the lower register called Dimension. And then we also have our top performing ensemble, Voice of Chicago. And so we bring all of these singers together to experience, the beauty of our unique differences and our common humanity through music. And even though they're from all parts of the city, they understand that when we come together, we are experiencing our common humanity, as I said.
So do they actually perform and sing locally or in their group before they come together? I mean, these are ongoing choirs, choral groups in different neighborhoods that are actively singing, other than the pandemic.
Yes, they are. Even though they're under the Chicago Children's Choir organization, they are singing in their individual schools. We have a choir, say, for example, in Bucktown, that Bucktown neighborhood choir will perform in its community and then collaborate with other neighborhood singers. Sometimes we actually just took a tour to Kentucky with the Dimension Choir and Bucktown Neighborhood Choir and Beverly Neighborhood Choir. So we do a lot of collaborating and bringing our singers together at different times throughout the year because, they are very segregated throughout the city. And this is a chance for them to come together too.
Oh, that's great. So how do you fund this? We're going to bring 1,000 kids together to sing down here in the park. The organization has been around for a while, so it has some backbone. Do you want to tell us about how it's been kept together for all these years?
Yes, well, we have amazing supporters and donors and individual donors, corporate donors, and we thank them so much for their generosity. And we are a nonprofit, so it takes a lot to bring these experiences to our singers. And we are grateful to anyone who wants to support our youth in Chicago. Chicago has sometimes such a bad stigma about violence and some of the negativity that surrounds the city. And we are doing great positive work. These singers, we know that music education works. We all understand that music transforms lives. We understand that when we feel music together, we break down our barriers and we have our common humanity. And, 100% of our singers are, are graduating from high school, and, we reflect the diversity in our faculty, because that shows that, more singers or more young people will go on to college when they actually are working with people who, look like themselves and have similar experiences. So we do everything in our power we have a future music educator organization to really work on bringing diversity into music education in terms of leadership and faculty.
So it's not just you being the senior director, you also have an artistic director, you have a faculty, I would imagine the choir director at X, Y, or Z high school or church is also kind of involved.
Yeah, so we have Josephine Lee as our president, and I'm senior director, and she and I have been together for 20 years now. We started in 2001 together, but then we have many conductors, 13 conductors in our different school programs. And then they also take over in those neighborhoods. And we have staff that supports marketing team, development team. It just takes a whole village to raise the children, as you know. And we always say it's the team that makes the dream work. So this is definitely a collaborative and a group effort. This is not one person, teaching all these children to sing. This is all of us working together with a common vision and a common goal to really make the world better and a more harmonious world through music.
Right on. Judy Hanson, the event is called Paint the Town Red. And why don't you tell us a little bit about this concert? Because you've got not just 1,000 kids from around Chicago, but you got all kind of heavy hitters coming in.
We do. So it's going to bring back all of our singers. It's our culminating event for our 65th anniversary. It's going to kick off the summer season in Chicago. We're so honored to be a cultural leader in Chicago, and we are going to be singing our signature repertoire, which is varied. We believe in music of the classical genre, world music, and world folk songs, and popular music, jazz, new works, and so we're going to be singing everything from Liberame from the Fauré Requiem, which is going to feature one of our alumni, Vasil Garvanliev, who was in Eurovision in 2021. He's from Macedonia. He represented Macedonia there. And we are going to be featuring Jonathan Green, another alum, opera singer. We're going to be featuring Ayana Woods, another alum and a Grammy nominee. And she is going to be in collaboration with Julian Reed Davis. The two of them work together to create a world premiere that will be performed at this concert on Paint the Town Red. And it is about climate change. And it was really developed by having workshops with our singers. They had input in the creation of the piece. It's called Look Into the Sky. Beautiful new work. And then we're also going to feature Grammy Award winner, Peter Cottontail. I know, can we redo that? Can I fix that again?
No, that's okay. But I was curious about who was Peter Cottontail besides knowing the story.
Oh, Grammy Award winner Peter Cottontail. We performed with him the song Together on the Stephen Colbert Show, and we're going to bring that piece back on Paint the Town Red. So it's going to be a remarkable performance. And like I said, we're performing Shosho Loza from South Africa and Arirang from Korea, which is the 5,000-year-old folk song that's known in both North and South Korea. And then we're going to be singing Baka Shalom, beautiful Hebrew song, Seek Peace and Pursue It. So it's going to be a really wonderful experience. Oh, and a little Rhythm Nation, Janet Jackson, we're going to throw that in. So we go everywhere when we sing music with the Chicago Children's Choir.
So this is going to be, where's it going to be? You tell us. It's downtown in the park. Which park am I talking about here?
It's going to be Yes, it's going to be at the Pritzker Pavilion in Millennium Park. And we're hoping that people will come out and support. They'll be able to sing along with us. Maybe there are going to be some words on the screen. They'll be able to dance and move and sing and just be a part of this great event that kicks off our summer season. So yes, it'll be at 11 o'clock on May 26th at the Pritzker Pavilion again. And we'll start our pre-show at 10:45. So you might want to come along for that and watch the kids get all set up to go. And yes, you can find out more about all of this event at, ccchoir.org, our website.
This is going to be good. I'm going to make it downtown for this. It'll be good.
Wonderful.
But with all of these alumni singing, will there be enough time for the kids to do their stuff?
Well, actually, the alumni are part of the program. So the singers get to perform with the alumni, which is just
good.
Magnificent. Oh, yes, there's only a few songs in an hour and 15 minutes of music. So, and we'll be singing some of our, We Shall Overcome. We always close with that. That is, brings us back to our founding during the Civil Rights Movement. So it's going to be just a really wonderful event.
Judy Hanson, where did the title of the event called Paint the Town Red come from? In the old days, red was, moving to the left. And I kind of like the sound of it, although I don't wear red hats much these days.
Yes, well, red is our signature color for Chicago Children's Choir. It has been for many years, and then paint the town red. When you say you're going to go out and paint the town, you're going to splash it, and you're just going to be great. So we're just filling this great city with amazing music and amazing children from the all of our youth from the choir. And one of the things I should say is after our big concert from 11 to about 12:15, then our smaller groups, like you asked about, the neighborhood choirs individually will be going around and singing at, Cloud Gate and heading over to Wrigley Square and singing in Maggie Daley Park. So you're going to be feeling those small little groups. They're going to break out and continue this great celebration of music and community after the main concert too.
Oh, that sounds great. Now, let me ask you about you. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved. I know you grew up on a farm when you were young out in the western suburb, what are now the suburbs. And you went off to University of Illinois. You were at Northwestern. I'm sure you sing a lot. I don't know if you play the guitar. Tell us about you and how you got involved.
Yes, well, I, always sang as a young child and went off to University of Illinois. Always wanted to be a teacher and thought that my love of music and my interest in that would be a great, combination. And so I taught in Darien at Eisenhower Junior High for 16 years, really, and brought my middle school experience even into the Chicago Children's Choir, but was really taken by the mission of the choir. Darien is a very diverse community, and I saw what music did for that school and that amazing connection that we feel and understand through music. I wanted to make a bigger difference. And the Chicago Children's Choir was something that I just thought could I could make a bigger difference with teachers and with students. And this message of singing in unity could continue. So I've been with the choir since 1998 and then 2001 full time when I came on with Josephine Lee as she is the president. Mm-hmm.
Well, sounds like a great thing. I mean, I like choirs. In my youth, I was in an a cappella choir in my high school, and we did Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah at Christmas time, and it'll be fun. Is there any parting words that you want to share with the Live from the Heartland listeners and viewers?
Well, I just want to say, during this time that we have been all really separated and, feeling isolated, that this is the time now to celebrate coming back together and being together and putting positivity and beauty back into the world. And we hope that you'll join us with the Chicago Children's Choir for this wonderful event. We've been looking forward to this for 3 years, coming back together and celebrating our anniversary of the 65th. So
and one more time, what is that website address?
The website is choir.org. So 3C's, HOIR.org. And we'll see you on May 26th at 10:45 a.m. Be there.
I'll be there. I'll see you. I'm going to go downtown. It's always a fun thing going downtown in my old age. And I'll be there in the park for this concert. May 26th, 11 o'clock, Chicago Children's Choir, Paint the Town Red.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on. Hope to see you on Thursday.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, Michael, and everybody.
Right on.
Bye.
Okay, you are listening to the Live from the Heartland show, and we're about closing up for the day. I do want to throw in one little piece of sports news, and that will be that the U.S. women's team and the men's team have finally come to agreement for equal pay. And I think not only do we give a lot of credit to the women who made this happen, but we also want to give credit to men who overcame their enhanced earning ability that has been going on for doing the right thing. I'm sure there's some complicated details that are going to be worked out, but it is a step forward. It's gotten a lot of attention. We'll be back next week with more of this show, and I'm not sure who the guests are yet. We got a long list of people. We're just trying to figure when they're going to come on. We'll go out today with some kind of a music. I think it might be a gospel tune because following our show is, if you're listening to it on radio or stream on a Saturday morning, is Bob Maravich, the Blue-Eyed Soul Child, with Gospel Memories. It's a wonderful show. Before next week, I want you to all pay attention to political races, get involved, make phone calls. What happens in November 2022 is really going to affect everybody more than people even realize. So we'll see you next week, and we want to thank everyone who makes this show possible. I want to thank Emilio Davis, who's on site here with me, well, via Zoom, helping make things happen. We want to thank Lynn Orman Weiss, Imani Warren over at Loyola, Luis Mejia Arenz down in Mexico, Katie Hogan, Tom Clark, and one more time, a big shout out to Gwen Brown, who was the podcast director at Loyola, as well as an intern for us who helped us out for the last year. She has graduated, and we congratulate her and thank her once again. So, do good in the world. The world needs all the good that you do, that I do, that we do. All power to the people. Over and out till next week.